Hello and welcome to Race for the White House, a show where we get you the latest from America's political landscape. Today in the show, we tell you about Day 3 of the Democratic National Convention, as Vice Presidential nominee Tim Walz made an emotional speech. Also on the show, we bring you an exclusive interview with Democratic Party Representative and Congressman Ro Khanna. All of this and much more, so let's get started. The Democratic National Convention embraced a unique spiritual beginning on its third day. The event started with resonant chants of Om Shanti Om as a Hindu priest led the proceedings with a traditional prayer. The priest remarked that even if we have differences, we have to be united when it comes to the nation. He also urged America to choose a leader who believes in the concept of the whole world is one family.
Om samani vahaku otis samana hridaya nivaha samana vastu vo mano yata avassu sahasati. We should be in unison. Let our minds think together. Let our hearts beat as one, all for the betterment of society. May this make us powerful so we can unite and make our nation proud. Paraspara vivadetu vayam panchashatanchate anyai saha vivadetu vayam panchottaram shatam. Even if we have differences, when it comes to the nation, we have to be united, and it moves us towards justice for all. We are one universal family. Vayam sarvepi vasudeva kutumbakaha. Satyameva jayate sarvadahi. Asotoma sadgamaya. Tamasoma jyotirgamaya. Mrutyorma astamgamaya. Truth is our foundation and always prevails. Lead us from unreal to real, from darkness to the light, and from death to immortality. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Now, the third night of the convention was also centered around Kamala Harris's vice presidential pick, Tim Walz. Walz got a thunderous welcome on the stage when he wholeheartedly accepted the party's nomination for vice president. Last night, Walz completed his breathtaking transformation from a little-known governor to a leading party figure. But on Wednesday, he gave one of the most consequential speeches of his political career. The speech was a major test of Kamala Harris's decision to choose this formerly little-known Democrat. His remarks mostly focused on his small-town upbringing, his life as a football coach, a teacher, and as a National Guardsman. He also said that as a congressman, he had regularly worked with Republicans, learning how to compromise without compromising values. And as a governor, he said that he was proud to fight for the right to abortion and reproductive care. His family was also a big part of the address. His son, Gus Walz, burst into tears as his father spoke of his love for his children. His speech was rousing and emotional. But while Walz brought emotion into the arena, he also pulled no punches in discussing his Republican rivals. Walz expressed the view that Republicans need to bring common sense back into their campaign, rather than cheap verbal attacks.
It's the honor of my life to accept your nomination for Vice President of the United States. We're all here tonight for one beautiful, simple reason. We love this country. So thank you to all of you here in Chicago and all of you watching at home tonight. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your determination. And most of all, thank you for bringing the joy to this fight. Growing up in a small town like that, you learn how to take care of each other. That family down the road, they may not think like you do. They may not pray like you do. They may not love like you do, but they're your neighbors. And you look out for them, and they look out for you. Everybody belongs, and everybody has a responsibility to contribute.
After Walz, the next one up was former President Bill Clinton. Clinton has spoken at 13 Democratic conventions since 1976. He wasn't the headliner this time as he had been at so many previous conventions. He also didn't close out the program as he did twice as a nominee of the party. Still, Clinton managed to fire up the party faithful with a modest speech. At a convention bursting with new generation vibes, it fell to Mr. Clinton to be the voice of old generation experience. No one taking the stage this week has had more primetime at the convention microphone than Bill Clinton. While he began his speech by hailing incumbent President Joe Biden, he also launched a scathing attack on Donald Trump, citing his age, poking fun at Trump's arrogance, and blaming the GOP leader for singing "me, me, me" all the time. In contrast to Trump, he asserted that mornings will now begin with you, you, you. In his 27-minute speech, Clinton leaned into what he's seen over the decades and the burdens of history. He warned the convention crowd that however good they feel, the campaign will be tough.
Kamala Harris is the only candidate in this race who has the vision, the experience, the temperament, the will, and yes, the sheer joy to get something done. We got to ask ourselves the questions if we're going to hire a president. Do you want to build a strong economy from the bottom up and the middle out? Or do you want to spend the next 4 years talking about crowd size? We've seen more than one election slip away from us when we thought it couldn't happen, when people got distracted by phony issues.
Next up was former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Pelosi opened her convention speech with a sense of gratitude for President Joe Biden, even after her doubts about his re-election bid. During her speech, the California Congresswoman praised President Joe Biden's administration as one of the most accomplished in modern times. She also went on to wholeheartedly endorse Vice President Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
I've known Kamala Harris for decades. Personally, I know her a person of deep faith, which is reflected in her community care and service. Officially, she is a leader of strength and wisdom and eloquence on policy, most recently demonstrated fighting for women's right to choose. Politically, she is astute and strategic in winning difficult elections, quickly securing the nomination with dignity and grace, and choosing Tim Walz as our vice president.
Another major speaker was TV personality Oprah Winfrey, who has generally tried to stay out of the political fray in America. But on Wednesday, Oprah, who is usually known for her philanthropy and advocacy of human rights, made a surprise appearance at the DNC. In her 15-minute speech, she spoke passionately about why she is supporting the Democratic nominee. Winfrey called on the country to endure through a period of bitter partisanship. Likewise, Winfrey sounded the alarm on the divisive agenda articulated by the Republican camp. She didn't take any names, but there was no doubt about who her target was.
When a house is on fire, we don't ask about the homeowner's race or religion. We don't wonder who their partner is or how they voted. No. We just try to do the best we can to save them. And if the place happens to belong to a childless cat lady, well, we try to get that cat out too.
There was one group that was welcomed with loud applause at both the Republican and national conventions. The parents of a young man taken hostage after Hamas's attack on Israel. The parents of American-Israeli hostage Hersh Goldberg Polin made an emotional plea at the DNC for their son's return. Many in the crowd who wore Bring Them Home bracelets were in tears as the mother described her son's situation and the struggle of not knowing his whereabouts or status.
Among the hostages are 8 American citizens. One of those Americans is our only son. His name is Hirsch. Hirsch, if you can hear us, we love you. Stay strong. Survive.
Bring them home.
Moving on, our White House correspondent Rohit Sharma spoke to Democratic Party Representative Ro Khanna on how the outcome of the November polls will impact India-US relations.
We're at the Democratic National Convention here in Chicago, and we're joined by Indian-American Congressman Ro Khanna, who's been very involved with this entire process. He was the campaign co-chair for Biden, and he's still involved in the Kamala Harris campaign. You're still in the finance
I was
committee?
on the advisory board for President Biden and still on the advisory board for Vice President Harris.
Congressman, just trying to get a feel of it. I mean, we saw both the Obamas speak last night. I'm talking to a lot of people. What's your feel on this election? And, on Kamala Harris's chances to win this election?
Well, it was an inspiring speech. Barack Obama talked about an aspirational vision for the country as a cohesive multiracial democracy. And there's no one who's at his league. He's such an inspiring figure. It is going to be a fight. We're still the underdog, but we've got a fighting chance. And the important thing is that we do everything we can to mobilize this country to bring change.
What are the key messages that you want to deliver from the platform of the from the platform of the DNC? I mean, we haven't really heard a lot about immigration, and that's an important topic for Americans. We haven't seen that in the last 2 days. Do you think Americans want to hear Democrats talk about immigration, economy, inflation?
Well, we want to talk about the economy, about bringing manufacturing back, of leading in high tech. But I have been the leader on the EAGLE Act, which is to say that when people are in the United States for so long, working here, contributing here, they should not. They should have a path to a green card. They should have a path to citizenship. That's good for the American economy, and I am leading to get rid of the country caps that are preventing that. I have also done a lot of work to make sure that people who are contributing to America, that they don't have to wait years to be able to get a business visa or to be able to visit and represent Silicon Valley. So I'm a real leader on those issues, and I hope we'll get it done.
Now, the polls say that this is going to be, dead heat, especially in the swing states. What messaging do you think you guys need to do in the next 70 days or so to get the independent voters on your side?
It's the economy. We've got to show that we're going to bring good paying jobs. We're going to bring the jobs of the future. We're going to help people with their medical debt, their credit card debt, their student debt, to provide relief so they can have the American dream. They can support a family. They can have a car. They can have a place to live. They can take some time off. It's all about the economy for the middle class.
Kamala Harris is half Indian, know. A lot of people are obviously looking at that. What does that mean for immigrants in this nation? You being also, an Indian American. What does it tell to the story of her to all the immigrants in this nation?
It's a wonderful story. It's a story about the American dream, her being a woman, her being African American, going to a historically black college and university, her mother being Indian American. It's a beautiful story, and it shows that this country is open to people of all different backgrounds, and this is why we need to win.
And one last question. What would you say there was a poll that came out that a lot of Indian Americans are moving away from Democrats. About, I think, 52% only from 75% back in 2016.
Where was that?
I think this was an India diaspora poll that I saw. What would you tell to those Indian Americans who are moving away from Democrats and trying to vote for Trump or the Republicans?
I would say that look at the leadership in Congress. We have led people like me on immigration reform, on saying that if you're an immigrant who's contributing to technology, to manufacturing, to construction, that you shouldn't have a country cap, that you should have a path to a green card and citizenship, that we should not have this backlog of years to come to the United States. Look at our leadership on the U.S.-India relationship. I have led the delegation to strengthen the defense and economic relationship. And my hope is that the Indian American community will respond to that.
No, because you invoked that. One last question. Do you think India-U.S. relationship will change if Trump gets elected?
I hope that it's going to continue and as a strong relationship, because America and India are strategic allies on defense, on the economy, on being democracies, and I'm going to push to strengthen it regardless of who's president.
All right. Thank you so much, Congressman. Thank you.
Now, let's take a look at some quick updates from the political landscape in America that you might have missed. First, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., also just known as RFK Jr., is expected to end his troubled independent presidential campaign this week. There are reportedly talks taking place between Donald Trump's team and Kennedy for the independent candidate to endorse the former president and appear at Trump's rally in Phoenix. The decision to drop out will end the most prominent third-party candidacy in the race for the White House. Earlier this week, Kennedy had announced that he will give a campaign speech addressing his path forward. Moving on, at his first outdoor rally since last month's attempted assassination, Donald Trump spoke from behind a bulletproof glass in North Carolina on Wednesday. The Secret Service had a large, sprawling presence at the venue and decided to protect the stage at the rally. Trump, as well as the Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance, spoke at the rally to discuss national security, highlighting the Biden-Harris administration's record on Ukraine and the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. Also, pro-Palestinian activists have launched a sit-in protest outside the DNC venue after being denied a speaking slot. The activists have been calling for an Israel arms embargo, arguing that it is the surest way to secure a ceasefire in Gaza. A march outside the convention site is also planned for Thursday evening. And that's all we have for you today. See you tomorrow as we bring you the latest from the final night of the Democratic National Convention. Thank you so much for watching Race for the White House, and thank you also for watching India Today Global.